You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WYPC.
WCYTV
Here on the Daily Signal.
Good evening and welcome to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated first on 93 WIBC. I'm going to level with y'all right off the top of the show, right here at the head. It's going to be a spicy show this evening. I have seen enough nonsense formed into awkward hoaxes stacked one on top of another all day. And we are going to rip those apart piece by piece. I'm talking the Trump racist Truth Social post, which is just clickbait for MSNBC or MS Now, whatever you want to call it. We're going to talk about Chuck Schumer's latest Jim Crow 2.0, where he literally sprints away, which I didn't even know the man could sprint, from the Lindell TV White House correspondent. The trans Olympic boxer that you were told is definitely a woman admits that he's a dude. And then, of course, Mamdani gets like really deep about Islamic history, Buddhist history, except his source is that he made it all up. So we're going to talk about that. First of all, let's talk about Chuck Schumer, the Save Act hoax. That is the biggest political thing going on in the country right now. Anything that you hear right now that is taking your attention on social media that is not weather related or some of the economy related is a major deflection away from a huge moment for the country. Every other civilized country on the face of this earth, even Somalia, yes, even Somalia now has voter ID laws that are mandatory. And yet, we have individuals like Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who is going against the supermajorities of every party, the supermajorities of every ethnicity, the supermajorities of every demographic in this country, suggesting that, well, I mean, if we get out there and, well, you know the clip.
What do you say to Mike Lee's argument that the Senate rules allow the majority to require the minority to stage a talking filibuster to stop the SAVE Act?
We've got to get this done, and we've got to get it done very quickly. The SAVE Act is an abomination. It's Jim Crow 2.0 across the country.
So he said that, and then, of course, that's like the fifth time in a row he said Jim Crow 2.0. So we're on versions we haven't even thought of yet. This is like super duper ultra Jim Crow electric boogaloo part 2, The Fast and the Furious. And even MS Now, MSNBC, pulls Schumer on to say, you know that you're kind of fighting against the entire country on this, right? Everyone does kind of want a little voter ID. And does Schumer go, you know what, you're right. Also, I'm really bad at cooking burgers. He doesn't do that. Instead, he doubles down because that's all that man knows how to do.
Jess, there's a new Pew Research poll that 95% of Republicans, but also 71% of Democrats like this idea. So why do you not?
It's Jim Crow 2.0. And I called it Jim Crow 2.0, and the right wing went nuts.
Again, a lot of people in the country kind of went nuts over that. That is a wild thing to say. Jim Crow policies were very specific kinds of discrimination. But alas, I mean, what do they expect to drive forward with this? Well, of course, it's just another mechanism to call anyone who supports a policy they don't like racist, homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, etc.
All over the internet. That's because they know it's true. What they're trying to do here is the same thing that was done in the South for decades to prevent people of color from voting.
Nope, no poll tax. It's not a poll tax, not a literacy test either. You have to go and get an ID. If you can go buy liquor, if you can go buy a movie ticket, if you can go get your driver's license, if you can drive anywhere, if you can apply for many kinds of business opportunities, if you can fly on an airline, if you can leave the country, if you can participate in 75% of the American economy, you too can get an ID that is already in most of these states free.
For instance, if you change, you're a woman who got married and changed your last name, you won't be able to show ID and you'll be discriminated against.
We've brought the woman maneuver back up. Here's the new thing, because the whole like Jim Crow racism thing didn't work out. And it's kind of insulting, by the way, also to tell black people that they're too poor and stupid to afford voter ID, which again, I saw level-headed, supposedly more moderate Democrat pundits on the media sphere this week that I was debating make the black people are all poor and stupid maneuver. You know, the Joe Biden, you know, you have white kids and poor kids argument. I'm still shocked that now they're going over to, you know who's really dumb and poor? Women. That's a move. Not just Chuck Schumer, by the way. Before we get to the other Democrats running into this, here's Chuck Schumer actually running away from reporters saying, you sure you really want to, go down this road? Maybe you can tell us. Tell us how. It's Jim Crow 2.0, Office365.net. Tell us, Chuck Schumer.
Leader Schumer, you recently called the SAVE Act Jim Crow. Can you explain how it's Jim Crow to require an ID to vote in elections, to drive a car, to purchase alcohol, go to the DMV?
Now, if you're listening on the radio or you're the podcast later, what you do not see is everyone. You have the Lindell reporter, you have Smeagol over on the left, you have a lot of other different reporters from around the media ecosystem that are holding up their phones and microphones to Schumer, waiting for the answer. Because if you're on the left, down leadership right now, because Ken Martin, head of the DNC, is not doing anything useful. He's still crying over Minnesota. So what do they have? They need some advice. And by the way, I'm not the one that's saying that the lower Democrats down the ballot need advice. There are Democrat members in the House that are saying today to several different outlets, we need a little bit of advice on how we're supposed to fight this SAVE Act stuff. So here's the brilliant answer from Chuckles Schumer, Senate Minority Leader.
Comment on that. Leader Schumer, you said you're on the same page as, what do you think? Should we restore normal order in the Senate and actually go back to the standing filibuster?
You said that you're sending a proposal over there.
So he says nothing. She then switches a question and then asks about the filibuster, because also, again, when Biden was in office, he wanted to shred the filibuster. Now that Trump is in office, all of a sudden the filibuster is very sacrosanct. It's very, very weird. No comments at all. So don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. There are other Democrats to pivot to, like Representative Jamie Raskin. He's ready. He's got the answers. He's going to explain what he means about women not being able to get voter ID.
What's wrong with the SAVE Act? What's wrong with it is that it might violate the 19th Amendment.
It might violate the 19th Amendment. Okay.
Which gives women the right to vote, because you've got to show that all of your different IDs match. So if you're a woman who's gotten...
That's not what it says. Not what the law says at all. Not even a little bit. Not even if you get the message version, like different, like the KJV, the NIV, even if you get the message translation of the SAVE Act, it does not say you have to make all of your IDs match one after another.
Married and you've changed your name to your husband's name, but so now your current name is different from your name at birth.
Listen to this man trying to describe this. Your name when you carry the name minus the name when you change the name. This poor sod. Again, this is why Chuck needs to kind of like send out the index card with the talking point to put below the camera when you're doing the interviews. Because this is just sad.
Now you've got to go ahead and document that. You need an affidavit explaining why. And why would we go to all of these the troubles in order to keep people from voting when none of the states that are actually running the elections are telling us that there's any problem?
There's the final horse to lean on here to mix the metaphors. That there's just no big problems. It's very rare. No one's reporting any problems. Everything's fine. It's wonderful. That's not why you enact laws, just because it happens rarely. Compared to other crimes, things like the crime of rape happen rather rarely compared to other crimes. That doesn't mean that rape should be more legal because it happens more rarely. That's ridiculous. That's not why you do laws. I'll just let you guys in on a little secret. RICO, the racketeering charges, those are committed and charged upon all very, very rarely. It doesn't mean that RICO doesn't exist or that it shouldn't exist. It's nonsense level goofishness that is meant to be passed off as a talking point simply to say when the rest of the country has come to the conclusion, yeah, it turns out that voter ID is a rather useful thing. That is a big political maneuver. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, has made it very clear. It doesn't matter if we have to staple this onto another bill, if we have to run it through on its own, if we have to have it in a box with the Fox, on a train, on a plane. We'll pass the SAVE Act as many times as we have to, whether Thune in the Senate decides to bring it up or not. We'll staple it to somebody running for Senate, and when they get elected, we'll sneak it in.
Look, we are going to be fighting for the SAVE Act, and I'll tell you why this is so important. We've passed it twice in the House, and we will pass it again. The SAVE Act just simply says you have to have verification of citizenship to register to vote. That's about a 90-10 issue on many of the polls in this country, and we're going to enhance it by what the president calls the Save America Act. And so it would be proof of citizenship to register to vote and voter ID, which is...
That's it. Proof of citizenship, voter ID. By the way, you do get all these fancy letters and things and a marriage certificate when you get married. They like explain the whole name change thing, just for those of you out there who were deeply concerned by the warnings. Radio crew, we're going to send you over to the commercial land. We'll be back in a second. It's the Tony Kinnett cast here on the Daily Signal. Not for the live stream crew. We don't cut to commercial like that over here. So let's dive into, I do want to make a joke that's going to get people a little bit mad at me. I understand the concern about women getting their ID to vote, because typically you do have to go somewhere to pick up your ID. And of course, we all know that women can't drive. Sorry. So, you know, that aside, Jamie Raskin's also losing it over Google and Apple making a decision to pull the ICE tracker. You know, the apps that allowed people to stalk ICE agents and encourage people to get out there and obstruct federal law enforcement under the guise of being legal observers. You know, so you too can commit crimes while holding your phone out and saying, "Oh, I'm just an observer." Jamie Raskin, this is according to Politico, House Judiciary Committee ranking member Jamie Raskin of Maryland is launching an investigation into what? Into who? Into the Trump administration. Why? Because Google and Apple pulled the ICE tracker apps off of their app stores. He's mad about this. Even though they were doxing, they were carrying out activities that are not technically legal. You're not really allowed to get out there and like track and identify and locate and like name certain kinds of federal law enforcement and certain actions. It kind of ruins, it undermines large scale federal enforcement operation when it comes to, again, immigration law, investigatory law enforcement handling of things that require the FBI, for example. Not to mention an accessory to all kinds of assault and harassment of people that aren't even remotely connected with immigration customs enforcement. But Raskin's really mad because he thinks that this is like a Jimmy Kimmel situation. Trump, he got in the ear of Apple and Google, notoriously conservative companies. And he's like, oh, the Trump, they got in their head and somehow blackmailed them to take it down. In a letter obtained exclusively by Politico on Thursday, Raskin demanded the Justice Department turn over all records of its communications with Google and Apple related to discussions about apps that crowdsource sightings of ICE. Best of luck to you, Jamie Raskin. Love the tinfoil. Looks real good on you. Make sure to put on a little extra Dandruff shampoo because it'll itch if you leave that aluminum foil hat on for too long. Speaking of ICE stuff, the individuals out here all around the country who are not going to, their jobs, but spending their days reliably, justly, bravely, stunningly resisting ICE are acting in, well, the manner that you would expect petulant children to act if they were some of the worst people around. So we played a clip earlier this week of individuals who see Hispanic or Black ICE officials calling them racial slurs, which I was told, oh, that's a right-wing issue, man, nothing like that. Well, here's yet another video of ICE officers being called racial slurs, among other things.
Move! What are you doing? Move around! Move around! Move around! What's your name? Oh, you some hoes! You some hoes! Oh, and you're black! What? You're next! You're next!
So what you're hearing not in the bleeps is N-word, you are next. Now, the officer does come around and he's like, shut your mouth. Because I know, shocker, people don't like being called racial slurs. Crazy idea.
I don't want you!
By the way, that's the kind of person who the Associated Press would call some kind of austere, wonderful scholar and post their graduation picture after they wandered their way into some type of horrible event. You know, just to, you know, stay in theme and honest here with the coverage. We're going to bring the radio crew back from commercial, and then I'm looking forward to diving into some of this stalkers on the ICE side, finding out a little bit more on some of the other hoax stuff. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast. Don't go anywhere.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast. Jamie Raskin, very, very, very angry that Google and Apple are pulling down the ICE tracking and stalking apps on their various platforms. And the reason why is that it's encouraging lots and lots and lots of crime. And it turns out people really don't want to be associated with lawsuits that are going after you for an accessory to lots and lots and lots of crime. Now, again, the individuals who are stalking ICE are starting to reach the FO stage of the FA section of activity. So you have individuals who are getting their glass doors shattered after they think they can, you know, follow ICE around, no problem, any day, all day. But you still have representatives like AOC, who are leading the charge not only in telling people how to follow around and track and dox ICE officials, but also how just very overtly how to obstruct law enforcement, period. So in this lecture that she gave, that was recorded and uploaded, AOC not only talks about how to, you know, follow ICE around and, you know, get out your camera and record and what questions to ask and things to yell and the little rape whistle to blow, but also encourages people to obstruct federal law enforcement. Things like not moving their vehicles, things like obstructing law enforcement by getting in between the officer and the individual who is the suspect in the arrest, whether it's the administrative or the judicial warrant that is attempting to have been carried out. That's illegal. You can't do that. There is no pathway forward to do these things. But again, this is all going to be muted over the weekend because it was certainly muted today. Instead, we focused on one of the stupidest, silliest hoaxes that I think I've seen in a very long time. I was told, you were told all day that Donald Trump, he sat down on his Truth Social and he found this AI-generated video of Barack and Michelle Obama. And the Lion King, Lion Sleeps Tonight, or no, not Lion Sleeps Tonight. Oh man, I can't believe I'm forgetting it. That one particular song that is in The Lion King, but not, you know, the main feature of it. It is The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Yeah, I'm not wrong there. Okay, good. You were told, I was told, that Donald Trump sat down and he posted this racist video depicting Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as monkeys. And that's what he did. And he just featured it, blasted it everywhere. And then it was taken down and everyone made big apologies. And how dare Donald Trump, Senator Tim Scott got out there and said, this is the most racist thing I've seen out of the White House. And a lot of people did the condemnation station today. And so when I sat down this afternoon to actually watch the video for myself, what I discovered is that everyone has been lied to over and over and over again all day about this particular video. So we're going to watch it in full, very, very clearly, so no one can pretend that anything else occurred. So this is the full video as screen recorded from Trump's Truth Social account.
Initiated by a court order, the Michigan investigation team...
Now you'll say, Tony, wait a minute. This doesn't sound like The Lion Sleeps Tonight. This is a video on voter fraud investigations and concerns up in Michigan. And yeah, yes it is. Now, there's two other things you should note in this particular setting. First of all, you will notice the captions that are on the screen. Truth Social does not, at least to my knowledge, have a native captioning codec that takes the audio that's being played and then automatically transcribe it. So it appears that someone, whether it's Trump, kind of unlikely, Trump doesn't do a lot of screen recording, not exactly tech savvy, the president of this country, or he had a staffer who screen recorded this video with the captions on it so he could play it with the captions.
Transmission of election data.
So just
some of the anomalies that we
an investigation,
2020 general
kind of a micro documentary.
States all stopped counting at a certain time in these key battleground states. These were all where
again, just the video playing out.
Machines were used, the Smartmatic.
Now you can see on the bar at the bottom of the screen, we're getting closer to the end of the video, but it's very clear. President Trump posting a video about what he considered to be significant election fraud in Michigan in 2020, according to this mini documentary.
That favored Joe Biden.
Now, the video gets to the end, and then what you see is the video swipes up automatically. It's not a basic transition that one would use in video editing. You just see it swipes up to the next video, and another video begins. And then the video is swiped, the recording is paused, and then it's ready to like go back and play. So that was the big thing. And the media ran as though this was a conscious decision by Trump himself to have a video there that he was ready. And then Trump swiped to the Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as apes. And then he posted it. See, because Barack and Michelle have always fought with Trump over the 2020 election stuff. Okay, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But everyone in the media ran with this today, huge condemnation. And a lot of people got there and said, this is very bad. Trump needs to apologize. And a lot of my friends and colleagues, who I deeply admire, got out there and suggested this was terrible. How could Trump do this? Very, very bad. If you say this wasn't a very racist thing to do, you're gaslighting. I won't stand for it. Bullcrap. That's not what happened here. The part that everyone is upset about is this clip right here. That's it. Now, is that clip bad? Yeah, it is. It's the start of a video in its full that Trump did not post the full video of, that using AI software depicts a lot of Democrats as jungle animals in Africa. And yes, Barack and Michelle Obama are portrayed as apes. Yes, that depiction is racist, objectively and obviously. But other Democrats being portrayed as donkeys, you got Pritzker as an elephant, Schiff, pencil neck Schiff as the giraffe, you've got Schumer as the zebra, you've got Mamdani as the hyena, scavenger, nice. And then you've got another old monkey-looking creature, Joe Biden, and then Kamala Harris is the turtle. That's that particular video. It goes on for like another 2 or 3 minutes. It has Donald Trump in the video, and the AI video is the jungle king, the lion king. And so the media immediately rushed to Carolyn Leavitt, the White House press secretary, and they said, what did Donald Trump do? What is this video? This video is terrible, horrible. What's going on? How are we going to solve? And Carolyn Leavitt said the following, quote, "This is from an internet meme video depicting President Trump as the king of the jungle and Democrats as characters from The Lion King. Please stop the fake outrage and report on something today that actually matters to the American public," end quote. Okay, 2 things here. Number 1, the first sentence that Carolyn Leavitt says is objectively false. It is incorrect and it is unnecessary. The second sentence that she says is objectively true. It's fake outrage. If you actually believe that Donald Trump had to sneak in a little like 1 second and 1.5 second frame of Barack and Michelle as apes, that's the joke. And then also he left out him as the king of the jungle because Donald Trump's ego is totally small enough to leave out himself being depicted as a lion. If you truly believe that, hun, you need help. You need help. Now, I'm going to level with you. Carolyn Leavitt getting out there and saying, oh, it's just characters from The Lion King. Nope. Wrong. Not true. Not true. There are no gorillas, apes like that in The Lion King. There's Rafiki, and then that's it. Nope, you don't have to do that. The answer is, it is very obviously a video that auto-played after the other. It wasn't meant to be uploaded. Screen recordings like that happen. There are entire AI accounts on social media that regurgitate others' accounts that screen record. And sometimes when screen recording, when screen recording, it goes to the next video automatically. And yeah, on several social media platforms, the autoplay is a scroll up motion. So I'm sorry, I'm not outraged. I'm not. And those of you who are pretending outraged because you read a headline today and you're like, oh, I need to tell everyone how much I don't like this or they'll think I'm a really bad person. No, nope. And then also some individuals on the more populist side of the right who have said actually that jungle video was good and it's funny and it's fine are also wrong. Nope, not what happened. You don't immediately have to go one extreme to the other. The one extreme on the side is Donald Trump never makes mistakes ever. He never posts anything that might be questionable, and there's never any mistakes. He never makes a spelling mistake ever, and he's perfect and he's wonderful, and he meant to do it. He meant to do it. Wrong. No, he didn't. Clearly. And when Trump comes out and is asked, he's going to go, I didn't know that was at the end of the video, or an intern. I said, upload this video for me from my phone. And he uploaded it. I don't know what the hell was at the end of it. I guarantee that's what's going to be at the end of this. Actually, it's all fine. No, you don't need to do that. Radio crew will send you off to the commercial. Don't fall for any hoaxes while we're gone. It's the Tony Kinnett cast. We're going to continue on the live stream. Now, when I say that like the pearl clutching came out, here were some of the calls coming into like C-SPAN today. I'm so sorry.
Oh, my word. I am a registered Republican. My dad was the president of American Pipeliners Association.
I hate this, by the way. I hate it whenever someone calls in and they need to give you their entire family history of why they're a Republican or why they're a moderate or whatever. That's stupid. Just get to the point.
So I came by it rather naturally. Voted for the president, supported him, but I really want to apologize. I mean, I'm looking at this awful picture of the Obamas. What an embarrassment to us.
I love that. So you'll notice that C-SPAN plays the B-roll, and it's B-roll footage of Donald Trump speaking, but then they only ever play a screenshot, a slight frame of Donald Trump there. Again, I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. Either Donald Trump is according to the left, either he's the doddering old dementia-ridden man who has no idea what's going on, he's falling asleep everywhere, and he's dumb and boisterous, or he's a secret evil fascist genius who's using dog whistles and incredible in-depth supercodes to try to trick people into what... He's neither. He's just Donald Trump. He's egotistical. He's boisterous. That's it. That's it. He's the same guy that he's ever been. And do you know the proof for that? They have to go all the way back to the Central Park 5 incident, which I think that those comments happened at this point like over 30 years ago now. That's their big move. Again, today on media, facing off against Democrats in debate. Well, this is clearly a pattern schedule. Donald Trump's been clearly trying to do that. These are the people that are trying to tell you at the same time that the OK symbol secretly means white power. Okay, best of luck to you on this. A sincere best of luck to you on this. Stupid hoax. Really dumb. Meanwhile, in Hoaxland, you have goobers on the Democrat side of the aisle just completely making up history just in its entirety. Which is a move, I would say. To just get out there and claim that, for example, as Nicole Hannah-Jones did, that... the United States benefited from slavery in the South, and that's why New York City was a prosperous city. Rewriting history. New York City was far more prosperous than Atlanta throughout the 18th and 19th centuries because it didn't merit slavery. And while the South relied on an institution instead of innovating, the North did not. The North innovated, and it was a lot more successful and prosperous for it. And the North participated. In fact, the North led the movement to free the slaves in the South. Democrats have since completely rewritten said history and have claimed that actually everyone's still super duper ultra extremely racist, just history revisionism. When individuals really want to believe something deep, deep down in their bones, it doesn't matter if it's the truth or not. It doesn't matter if the SAVE Act actually has anything to do with women and getting an ID. It just, they want to believe it so badly that sure, the 19th Amendment is probably not compatible with voter ID, or sure, the United States had New York City as the slave capital of the world. No. And yet, here we are. So, that all said, we're going to look over at Zohran Mamdani, another amazing hoax from the day. And then following that, the transgender boxer now finally admitting that, yeah, the dude is in fact a dude. We got to bring the radio crew back from commercial, though. Don't go anywhere. It's the Tony Kinnett cast here on The Daily Signal.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast. In New York City, socialist mayor, brilliant politician Zohran Mamdani, he's out here with some history because he's also been seeing all of this language, all of this conversation about immigrants and illegal immigrants, and he decided to get out in front of the public and announce that the issue with immigration, it's a Christian thing. It's a Jewish thing. Only Christians and Jews have problems with immigration. Really what you need to be is you follow the Buddhist and the Islam teachings. Because, I mean, it's not like, anyone in Western civilization ever fought to end slavery, and no one's ever conceived of slavery in the Buddhist or Islamic sides of culture. Here was Zohran Mamdani today doing two incredible things. I'm going to be honest with you. The first thing is really funny, and the second thing is very sad.
I think of the freedom from suffering that Buddhism teaches us is only possible if we remove the three poisons of desire, hatred, and ignorance from our daily lives.
I love that. Don't you? It's kind of Hallmark card, kind of Yoda. We only follow the teachings of Buddhism. Follow them, you must. Ridiculous. Oh, I cannot teach him. Incredible stuff. Anyway, that's the funny part. Then he gets to the sad part.
We need not accept suffering as unchangeable. We need not treat hatred as the natural state. We have the power to set ourselves free.
Now, I like that. There's some 1990s motivational speaker style there. I have the power to change everything around me. Grab life by the horns and pull it towards you. Yeah, sure, okay. You too have the power. Grand.
And I consider my own faith, Islam, a religion built upon a narrative of migration.
Built upon a narrative of migration. Okay.
The story of the Hijrah reminds us that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a stranger too, who fled Mecca and was welcomed in Medina.
Boy, we're skipping a lot of historical points right there. Yeah, it's the story of Muhammad, and he was rejected by all of these mean, terrible people, and he fled to Medina, where they were welcoming, like we all should be.
Surah An-Nahl 1642 tells us, as for those who immigrated in the cause of Allah after being persecuted, we will surely bless them with a good home in this world.
So first of all, I enjoy this whenever someone does this. That's not interpreted correctly. That's not how that particular surah is supposed to go at all. But okay, all right. So let's pretend that that's true. Don't enforce immigration law. Yes, Second Opinions 36:15 in the Quran.
Or as the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Islam began as something strange and will go back to being strange.
Now, I truly do appreciate it when there are Islamic scholars throughout history, like Azam Shmoigity Boigity that he's quoting here, whatever, that is misquoting the New Testament, which is that Christ is a stumbling block to confound the wise. Again, the idea of just like taking elements of Christianity and going, oh yeah, I'm going to copy that down like couple hundred years later. Oh, it started strange and then it will someday again be strange. That doesn't make any sense at all, but oh yeah.
So glad tidings to the strangers.
And then all of the college age women in the crowd go, oh yes, it's so, wow, quick, somebody write that on a hacky sack.
If faith offers us the moral compass to stand alongside the stranger, government can provide the resources. Let us create a new expectation of City Hall, where power is wielded to love, to embrace, and to protect.
Anakin, every Jedi knows one cannot wield power with such alacrity. Sorry, I thought we were getting into the Star Wars quotes there again. No, I'm afraid that this isn't going to play very well. First of all, the city of Mecca if you are not a Muslim, you're not allowed in the city of Mecca. So much for, not arresting the migrants. Again, the history of Islam, for anyone who has studied any amount of history whatsoever, will remember that there is no culture, no religion, which has committed more on the term of ethnic genocide and slavery subjugation than the religion of Islam over the last 1,500 years. The Caliphate, the bloody march across Europe and Africa, which instituted and cemented the practicing of slavery for generational crime, and then perverted Buddhism, as he cites in the very beginning there, in its attempted conquest of India, but of course not getting down to the Tamil kings in southern India, because no one conquers the Tamil kings. So incredible stuff. Really, really exciting. I do love it when someone just makes up a magical history about here's why all of you need to follow the principles of this Star Wars quote. And then also this made up history, Dr. Seuss Hamid and the wonderful march of loving immigration. Beautiful. So that all said, by the way, if you do migrate to a Muslim country and you try to set up a church, that's not going to go very well. So alas, moving on. He's also really bad at governing. Really, 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 really bad at governing. So New York City has a reputation. Whenever there is a major series of snow and ice storms, the trash piles up outside because the guys who are supposed to pick up the garbage, they can't get to the garbage. They can't get to it. So it stacks up for a while. Well, it's stacking up a lot now.
I just want to give a congratulations to our newly elected, amazing, wonderful mayor, Mamdani.
Look at all of that garbage. No. That's not a crowd photo with the DNC. That is a massive line of bags of garbage set out for the trash men to pick up that haven't.
Everything's under control. The streets are all clear. Garbage is all being picked up. It's on schedule. It's every 3-4 weeks. They come by, they pick up some garbage.
So I appreciate that. Two things. First of all, New York City has had a problem history of this for quite a long time. They have. Very true. New York has no matter who the mayor is, whether it's Eric Adams, whether it's Giuliani, anytime there's a major ice storm or a major weather event that shuts down certain parts of the infrastructure, this happens. So that, to be fair. However, he bragged openly during his campaign and his initial transition period that because he was socialist, he was just it was going to be amazing. He was going to step in and he was going to snap his fingers, and then, togetherness, we were all going to hold hands. And before you know it, trash was going to magically evaporate at fair wages for everyone. And now it's going to be wonderful. And nope. It turns out that governing's kind of hard. It is. All of these youths on the left who think they're going to sweep in and that just all of a sudden everything is just going to fall into place are just as silly as some of my dear friends who once asked me, Tony, should I run for local school board? Because I really don't like how things are going. And I said, hey, I hear you. A lot of the local school boards suck. Do you know anything about schools or education policy or the law? Do you know a lot about how curriculum and pedagogy works and how you're supposed to facilitate this stuff? Do you know how to get past the double speak and whatever lawyer group that your school has hired as their contract? And if the answer was no, then I said, cool, don't run. Learn first, do the learning, and then go and run for the position. But the idea that you can just waltz in and kick down the door and go, I'm a really great guy. And because I'm a really great guy, governing is going to be a breeze. Nope, you don't have to do that. Don't have to do that. So this doesn't just plague old politicians or new politicians, old politicians too. Radio crew, we're going to send you off to commercial land and talk about Gavin Newsom, who ain't doing so hot right now, but his rail project sure is. It's the Tony Kinnett cast here on the Daily Signal. Did you like that? A little pun there. Gavin Newsom, after 20 years of nothing, hundreds of billions of dollars. We got used to saying millions, and then we got used to tens of millions and hundreds of millions, and then the billion was a big number when it came to the economy. And then it was, a couple of billion, 10 billion. Now we're at the point where we're just slinging around hundreds of billions here, there, and everywhere like it's no big deal. I know inflation's been rough, but he's wasted over $150 billion on this high-speed rail project. Not a single rail has yet been laid, but he got out in front of the public. We played the clip on the show a couple of days ago. He stood in front of a freight train and he said, "It's coming. It's great. They said we couldn't do it. Texas sucks. California, rail time." As of today, that little rail yard that they stacked a bunch of dry lumber in and said, it'll be fine. It's on fire.
At the Church Avenue overpass in southeast Fresno.
There's a lot of plywood and lumber that's involved in this.
First of all, what a waste of plywood and lumber. No, seriously, do you see this wall behind me over here? With the Tony Kinnett cast, TV, things. If you're on the podcast, just use your imaginations. I would love to have a little bit of extra plywood to make kind of a nice, more relaxing room set over here. Lumber's not cheap right now, folks. Gavin Newsom, because California just has money and apparently plywood and lumber to burn, all of that beautiful lumber laying out there. Someone pointed out, by the way, in a kind of a construction feed, that was cleaner and straighter lumber that was set out for that project than is ever available at Home Depot. And all of that was just caught on fire. Thanks, Gavin.
Workers seen stepping back, all unharmed, as firefighters attacked from above. The nearby freight railway closed.
We have the railroad tracks here that we ended up having to close down and stop the trains because...
Now, if you're wondering, was any of the track damaged? I've got good news. No. And the reason that the track was not damaged is because none of it's been laid yet. Tracks can't catch fire if there's no tracks. So, yeah.
We have a ladder truck in place that's blocking the tracks.
Fresno Fire's Josh Sellers confirms the fire began just before 9 a.m. Investigators say likely sparked by routine construction. Aerial video from the High-Speed Rail Authority last year appearing to show the impacted structure.
This is the shoring framework that the concrete is then poured in place, and that becomes the permanent structure.
The fire, the latest twist in a controversial project. California High-Speed Rail is more than 6 years delayed and nearly $100 billion over budget.
I love it. Don't you? It's incredible. Every time the legislature votes and is like, all right, we're going to do it this time. We're going to make it happen. There's another 6-year delay, another 10-year delay. Incredible. Beautiful. So as we found out after a fire, if you're hoping to get the permit, Karen Bass says that's going to be at least another couple of years. So I'm, sucks to suck, I suppose. Just wanted to, be very upfront with all of you here on the expectation side of things. In Pennsylvania, there is yet another illegal immigrant-caused semi-accident that is due to the commercial driver's license policies for illegal immigrants of the Pennsylvania Commonwealth government. So we are currently digging in as best as we can to this newest semi-accident. Of course, there was just the Indiana situation. We got to bring the radio crew back from commercial. Don't go anywhere. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Another illegal immigrant crash. I don't have all of the details on this yet. We're looking into the different details. Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania is very, very mad that people are pointing out that just handing out a bunch of driver's licenses, commercial driver's licenses, CDLs, to illegal immigrants or to questionably legal immigrants who can't speak or read English. He doesn't like being called out for that because he's supposed to be the moderate Democrat that everybody likes. So first of all, Josh Shapiro has fired back at the Department of Homeland Security and said, well, in the database, it said he was legal. Again, further analysis shows that the Trump administration has shut down the CBP One app by Biden's administration. And both executive order and judicial rulings show that, that doesn't count for legal status in the country. So big sorry to Josh Shapiro for, again, the consequences of his policies that, again, killed 4 Amish individuals and severely injured their van driver who was driving them around. in a county just one over from mine. So now in Pennsylvania, this is updated today at 1 p.m., now facing homicide charges, a crash that killed a construction worker in Cumberland County. I do not have a lot of details yet. The FedEx double tractor trailer driven by Faris Amri, 42 of Glenolden, Delaware County. I don't have any of the details yet, other than the officer identified as the officer identified the deceased victim as Hector Hernandez, 56 of York, Pennsylvania. We're going to, again, take a little bit more as far as the look on this particular situation. I don't have everything that I have here yet to talk about this yet. So I'm gonna be a little bit patient here because, hey, sometimes that's a good thing to do. Now, there was one more hoax that I promised you today, and it's a doozy. You may remember that at the Paris Olympics, the one where there was breakdancing that was somehow about as impressive as watching a 35-year-old man slap his own belly, that Paris Olympics, there was a boxer. Do you remember a supposed female boxer? There were a lot of people that were rather upset because this particular boxer from Algeria bloodied a bunch of women in this particular boxing match series in the Olympics. And a lot of conservatives pointed out, hey, look at the physical features. Person's a dude. And then all of the Karens on the left came out and said, actually, it's a very specific chromosome. That's very, very much, not just me saying that. Michael Costa over on The Daily Show went into an entire impassioned rant about how if you don't think that a guy with a very clearly visible bulge, both on the Adam's apple and crotchal region, you think that's a dude? Well, you're just wrong. Here, little trip down memory lane. Sorry, segment 3. There we go.
The biggest story so far is about Algerian boxer Iman Khalif, who's been doing a great job in the women's boxing tournament. Some people would say too good.
Some critics questioning whether Khalif should have been allowed to compete in that ring at all, and claiming that Khalif is a man or transgender, something IOC officials have emphatically denied.
So again, they're playing the CNN footage here because he's getting ready to get up and mock that. Here we go.
Seems pretty open and shut to me, right? She was born a woman, lives as a woman, and boxes other women. So what is the argument against that?
This is such...
So now he's going to go after Megyn Kelly and Charlie Kirk for, again, pointing out the biology.
An outrage. Look at this. This is a man. This is a man who is competing in the boxing tournament for women.
No, she's not. She's a woman. She's a woman like you, Megyn Kelly, a woman at the peak of her career, unlike Megyn Kelly, but she...
Again, the majority of people in this country don't know who Michael Costa is. But alas, going after him for that, well, wouldn't you know, as of today, the good old Iman Khalif, the female boxer, admits, yep, XY chromosomes, no special genetic condition, he's a dude. After 18 months of gaslighting. In a new interview with French sports outlet L'Epique, the Algerian boxer addressed the controversy that surrounded the women's boxing competition at Paris Olympics, where Khalif won gold despite questions surrounding the athlete's biological sex. Oh, wait a minute. Khalif admits, yeah, I'm a guy. I'm a dude. Boy, that how curious and interesting. I was a shirt promised by some white gal in Minneapolis wearing a very awkwardly shaped, weird, woven, knitted pink hat. That, sure, the penis and the testicles and the Adam's apple and the 5 o'clock shadow and the, desire to watch rocks fall into water from a great height, like all men do. Oh, that's clearly a woman. I'm just going to say, the second that the Hallmark movies came on and Khalif didn't even shed a tear, I was suspicious. Rumor has it, by the way, that Iman Khalif can also drive. So case closed. That definitely can't be. All right, I promise. That's enough on the ladies can't drive joke. Allison's going to pull me off of the air really quick. Actually, wait a minute. Allison, you're out there on the radio side of things. You're not ready to kill me yet, are you?
Nope, not yet.
I'll take it. So I have just a question here, as you are a lady. Just a curiosity, did it take you 18 months to discover that Adam's apple man was in fact a man?
I would say more like 18 seconds, maybe.
I'm just saying, if you know, you had to get in the ring. I know you've obviously been a professional boxer for a long time. Are you eager to get in there with like a muscly ripped dude from Algeria? Does that sound like a fun Friday night for you?
Yeah, I don't even want to be in with a real woman, so no, thank you.
That's fair. That's very fair. Thank you for your wonderful real lady appraisal there. Also, how many curbs have you clipped with your car this week?
All right, I'm getting there. Don't push it, Tony.
Thank you very much, Allison, board operator over at WIBC. Speaking of which, radio crew, it is about that time of the evening. I have other stuff to cover. We've got all kinds of parents taking their kids to inappropriate stuff and all other nonsense to cover. Mail time too on the rest of the Tony Kinnett cast. That's happening on the live stream. YouTube.com or rumble.com/Daily Signal. I think Rumble, it's the Daily Signal. You should watch. You should tune in with us. Watching is way better than listening. Not only because I do the Gavin Newsom hands better than Gavin, but because, you know, we have a good time. The clips are great. So radio crew, see you on Monday. It's the Tony Kinnett cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated and first on 93 WIBC. All right, good. Now the nerds are away off in their precious radio land, listening to their regurgitated commercial breaks. It's time to go over a few things that brought me a ridiculously high amount of pain. Because I know that's what you guys really want. That's why you're here. You're here to see me suffer because of the stupidity that is just considered normal, good parenting. So first of all, a group of California teachers were seen, I'm not sure if this is today or yesterday. I'm going to check in this here real quick here. Hey, Google, stop. I tell you what, Google AI assistants, they think that they can talk during the show. It's ridiculous. This was today. This report is coming from today. California teachers marching their second graders on an anti-ICE protest. Get a look at this. Look, at this age, if there's anything you should be protesting, it's whatever abysmal food is likely to be served in a California cafeteria. If you are a second grader who has been served kale for breakfast, I mean, yeah, then protesting. Obviously, we recognize this is ridiculous. This is dangerous. As I've said before, when you tell children repeatedly that there are individuals in the federal government that are coming to kill them, that the right wing are a bunch of evil Nazis, and the kind, loving, compassionate thing to do is the George Orwellian 2 minutes of hate where you scream and you dox and you assault and you obstruct and you do all of the awful things. And if you have to, you threaten to and follow through with shootings and killings that are morally justified. I mean, hey, Luigi Mangione, he was just standing up against the insurance agencies. Maybe we need to hear him out a little bit, something like that. Hey, I mean, Renee Good was there clearly to obstruct federal law enforcement. She didn't comply with law enforcement, put her own life at risk, and then took really bad advice, and then, attempted a little vehicular manslaughter. But hey, I mean, her heart was probably in the right place. She was a poet or something. Same with Alex Preddy. Oh, just legally observing that whenever you do these kinds of things, you get very, 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 very bad responses. I looked down at the wrong time, or maybe the right time. From Kathy K, she said, hey, correction, very few in Indiana know how to drive, period. All right, that's fair. That survey says yes, and about 90% of them do in fact live in eastern central Indiana, where I am. So that's very fair. I'll allow it. Women and Hoosiers can't drive, but that's also only because we're bordered right up against Ohio. And I don't know where on what planet in the solar system y'all learned to drive on it. No, I appreciate that. That's a good one. I like that. That's good. All right, moving on. There are also parents who have just, again, decided finding their kids at protests, which they're just doing to get out of class and to skip school. We're going to pretend there's like real passion here. Here was a mom's interaction with her kid in this particular instance.
My kid thinks he wants to skip school to protest.
I should mention rather quickly, from bonus tonus forward, bonus tonus is the term that our lovely viewers have given to the extra portion of the show, which is past the normal broadcast hour. Viewer and listener discretion, those are advised. My team compiles a lot of these clips that we react to. The language is not always perfect. So if you are listening with children and other impressionable people, and you're not taking them to a second grade ICE protest, maybe listen to this one later. There you go.
Just wait for this nonsense.
Shit, get in the car.
No, it is my right, says the child. Ah, yes. Children who think they have independent, full legal adult rights. Yeah, that's not dangerous whatsoever.
It is not when you are 16. Get in the car right now.
Correct from mom.
Okay, that's fine. I'll call the police. They'll come take you. I can't get in trouble for this.
She says, so look, you're going to be delinquent. Then I'll call the police. You're my child. They can return you to me. If you as a child are out in every state that I know of, and you don't want to be around your parents, and the police are then called, they'll come pick you up and take you back home. Now, that may be a rough conversation for the officer, but if there's a reason to believe that you're either in danger or doing something inappropriate, yes, sirree. So good on the mom. I personally would recommend something a little bit sterner than the grounding. But I'm not gonna step into their shoes. I very much agree so far with this particular parent.
You can actually, because you're skipping school.
Oh yeah. So the person says the school rules say they can't get in trouble. This is like their First Amendment right. No. I'm afraid not there, Sailor Sam. That's not correct. The older children, and by that I mean college students, they're not doing any better. Apparently a group of anti-ICE students chained themselves to their university's door.
Shame on you. No, you don't drive.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Hi.
That's okay. Excuse me. You just sent me the video. As the university official, I request you refrain from disruptive behavior, which includes unauthorized use of university facilities.
So again, this is the University of Minnesota. They've chained themselves to the door of the president's office to demand that ICE be kicked off campus. Now look at these fine young individuals. You have the wow, what a cadre right there. Future doctors and lawyers, I'm sure. That's stunning, brave, exciting stuff right there. And look, they brought up blankets. Can't even chain themselves to the door of the trees in the days of yore. Just with them. They got to bring their snacks and snuggles with them. Protesters have gone so soft.
And disruptive behaviors. This behavior does not comply with the university policy or state law. This is your first notice. Please unchain yourself from the door. If you do not comply with the university policy, we will proceed with disciplinary and legal action.
Shame! Shame! ICE out! ICE out! ICE out!
I think
That's
Excellent. Exciting. Again, I don't know why anyone would be against putting the camera directly on these fools and letting them be goofy. There are a lot of Americans who are no longer putting up with any of this. So just like in Minneapolis, how there are little pallet roadblocks that are being set up to identify people, the anti-ICE crew in Portland is trying this too. It's not going as well, I will say.
They're almost done. They're almost through. So just give it like 2 minutes and you'll be good to go. We're in
nigga run. What you mad about? White trash?
So then they get out of the way because, you know, they really do not want to enjoy the fantastic experience of getting run over by individuals. So again, really exciting. I do want to make this clear. There was a question as to what our source was for the California school, the short clip in which students went on a march in the Bay Area. ABC 7 noted it. I believe the clip originates from there. So at least what we're looking at right here is, yes, the report from ABC 7, I believe, is where those particular students were covered from. I believe it's a Bay Area school. I don't know which Bay Area school. We'll probably find out for you. So aside from that, a little extra something to frustrate you, because again, all of this is that, well, they're protesting over all of these wonderful people who are just contributing so much to the country. It's good to get out there and protest and rage and scream and cry and you know, delete the Constitution. There's this really sad picture of a person crying and, oh, we shouldn't have laws. That crew telling you that the reason we should all be in a happy, great, wonderful place. That nonsense. Well, according to a new article over from the Judicial Watch, Americans are still paying over $1 billion a year, or roughly 1/150th of the California high-speed rail project, to subsidize illegal immigrants' college education. So, according to the article, quote, although a 30-year-old federal law prohibits giving illegal aliens discounted in-state tuition at public colleges and universities, 22 states and the District of Columbia not only still do so, but the cost to the American taxpayer is over $1 billion annually, and that's just what's reported. Because again, several states report certain figures like these differently. So again, several senators are attempting to reiterate this law, or like double down on this particular law. The measure notes that a Section 505 of the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of '96 already bans states, and therefore public universities, from granting discounted tuition and fees to students not lawfully present in the United States, simply because they live in that state. So the violators of this particular law include Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Hawaii, Illinois, Kansas, Maryland, Massachusetts, Nebraska, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, and Washington. So, of course, last year, as you remember, the Department of Justice sued several states over this policy, but only Texas, Oklahoma, and Kentucky actually complied with federal law. So we are in a position right now where there are a bunch of governments around the country that are just saying, I just don't want to enforce the law. And the Supreme Court of the United States is going to have to decide at some point just how far prosecutorial discretion goes. Now, there is one thing that I want to bring to you on top of this, and it's from Margot Cleveland. She is she's the senior legal correspondent over at The Federalist. She is also a counsel over at NCLA Legal. That's the New Civil Liberties Alliance. There are now judges who are so angry at Donald Trump that they are issuing opinions of concurrence to their own opinion. So there are now federal judges, and I want to make sure I get this particular individual correct here. Diaz, the chief judge in a diversity case that Margot Cleveland is covering, was so angry that Donald Trump was going to get out of the woods on, again, allowing the administration to assign whoever it wants on diversity, equity, and inclusion enforcement investigation, also assigning on temporary protected statuses. He wrote in his dissent that he is concurring with his own earlier opinion. That's not how that works, by the way, in case you're wondering. That's not a thing. You don't concur with yourself. That's the definition of performative. Number two, another federal judge, Judge Reyes, has attempted to delay the Trump administration from obtaining an opinion from the Court of Appeals. So there are a couple of different cases right now in which the Trump administration is attempting to reach the Courts of Appeals. And now this particular judge, Judge Reyes, has filed a motion attempting to stop the Trump administration from getting in front of the Court of Appeals. There's not even remotely jurisdiction for that. Even on death row, you can continue to file appeals. There is no judicial authority to say, hold up that letter. They need to wait 2 hours, get a physical before they can either go swimming or go to the Court of Appeal. That's not a thing. Last but not least, the famous Judge Talwani, the same one who said the Trump administration was not allowed to stop funding to Planned Parenthood, has now attempted, in an order that so far we know is being ignored, has attempted to bar ICE and Department of Homeland Security from using taxpayer information provided to them by the IRS. She says that the Homeland Security view that non-citizens lack the Fourth Amendment rights, which it's not a Fourth Amendment right of yours to hide IRS information from federal law enforcement. There is no precedent for that whatsoever. That's not what a warrant is, by the way. That's not, anyway. She said, combined with the ICE use of administrative warrants is a recipe for abuse. You claiming there's a recipe for abuse also is not at all a constitutional legal position to take. Woulda, coulda, shoulda is not in the Constitution. So as, again, a writer that I admire over at Red State, Bonchi, points out, Judge Talwani, who claimed Congress couldn't stop funding to Planned Parenthood, now also thinks she has the power to stop executive agencies from speaking to each other, from interfacing at all, because she thinks there may be abuse that might somehow, occasionally, may possibly over there sort of kind of happen. No, that's not how that happens. And as he astutely points out, there's straight up going to be nothing left of the judicial system. Nothing. It's just going to be over and done. What federal judges are now attempting to do, which is just, I declare, like Michael Scott, I declare bankruptcy. They just do whatever they want and claim that they have a constitutional right to do whatever because I am a judge. No, that's not a thing. And whether the Supreme Court of the United States ends up nullifying a lot of federal judicial power, or Congress passes some kind of constitutional amendment to clarify the role of federal judges, and if you think that's going to happen, I have a trash pickup plan in New York City to sell you, or some female boxing tickets from Algeria. I gotta level with you here. Really, the most likely route forward in this is that there's just going to be an executive branch that for the rest of American history just starts ignoring federal judges. And that's going to be a significant problem. Not necessarily that it shouldn't. I think that the Trump administration should ignore a lot of these orders. I don't think they should comply with clearly unconstitutional orders. But I think that you need someone like a Scott Bessent, like a Tom Homan, but from the Department of Justice, to come forward and say, this is an unconstitutional order. We are not participating in acts of unconstitutionality. You need that. You don't need Mamdani up there going, so I just don't like, it's bad and it's wrong. Nope, don't need that. And again, as much respect as I have for her, this isn't Carolyn Levitt's fight either. She's the press secretary for the President of the United States. She shouldn't have to be the spokesperson for every agency also. I think Tricia McLaughlin over at DHS does a really, really good job of articulating some of these particular legal matters, but they're going to need somebody on this because this is not going to persist. And one of the comments points out from Drops Homestead, the IRS is not constitutional and neither is the Federal Reserve. All of that should be handled by the Treasury. I agree with you, but legal precedent has asserted that it's constitutional. So as much as I would very much agree with the libertarian sentiment there, again, the income tax was only supposed to be a thing through World War I. Yeah, I'm afraid that the precedent that is set and the mentioning of the Internal Revenue Service in official decisions by the Supreme Court has technically codified it as constitutional. It's a really weird thing. But once the Supreme Court essentially says, yeah, I'm going to use this term and use it as a legal maneuver, then it essentially becomes a pretty cemented in place kind of a thing. That said, I'm going to take a couple of mail time questions. Yeah, a little bit of mail time questions. If you got any questions for us, every show's got to have a little segment. It's the end of the week here. No major tech issues through this show, at least none that I know of. So we can definitely thank the Lord for that. And we'll tackle this right away here. I'm not even going to stop and play any particular mail time bumper music. So first of all, from Kevin H, a very kind $10 super chat. You guys do not have to do super chats. You don't have to donate any money to do this. I will answer your mail time question, whether you give money or not. But from Kevin, he said, do MAGA Republican Americans need to march on Washington, D.C. with a trucker, biker, veteran, and student convoy to a D.C. rally until the filibuster is nuked and Save America Act is passed by the Senate? No. And the reason the answer is no is because that's not going to do it. Protests are one of these things that, I'm sorry, although it is absolutely your political right to do, marching to D.C., your Congress people don't care if people show up to D.C. and protest. By the way, hot secret, although I very strongly stand with the March for Life, I've been to a March for Life. As a political mechanism, I don't think it's effective. I don't think the big, huge marches on DC, it's been done. There are protests like every other week in this era of American politics. Who are you convincing? Show me, seriously, and this would be my counter. You show me the American politician who sees a protest and goes, oh my gosh, look, there must be at least 1,000 people. Jimmy, cancel my calendar. I got to change my mind. That's not a thing. It's not. The majority of conversations that are held in Washington, D.C. and on Capitol Hill are already held in internalized, privatized networks. You say, how do you know this? Because when I go to the Heritage Foundation or to the Daily Signal offices or the Hillsdale offices, whatever, and there are protesters outside and they're yelling, you ignore them. Well, I mean, I blow them a kiss as I walk in the building, and then you ignore them, and then you start going about your business of calling other people that you know in the network while you're in DC, what you're there for. No one actually stops and goes out to protest and goes, hey there, bud, I'm Senator so-and-so. Why don't you tell me why you're out here protesting? Not a thing. And by the way, I love showings of patriotism. The trucker convoy in Canada, I loved it, thought it was awesome. And I'm also one of the people that really wishes that I had an Indian motorcycle, because I'd love to go on one of those veteran mile, paid, sponsored by the mile, legacy or what's the word, memorial long motorcycle trips. That would be awesome. I love those things. But that's an expression of passion and not pretending that protesting is going to do anything. And by the way, you don't have to agree with me. You can call me a fool. Obviously, I think it's your constitutional right to protest. There are far more effective ways, I believe, these days to actually voice your opinion. And that is do a major protest at a local thing. So great example of this. We saw this in New York. And I think actually I can pull up the clip to this. I'll go looking for it anyway while I'm telling you this. In New York, and I cannot remember the county. One of you in the comments might be able to share which county this is. But there was a large group of people who showed up to protest a sanctuary policy bill for one particular county in New York State. And yeah, then the council realized, whoa, there's a lot of people here. And they got nervous and they said no. Local stuff works a lot better because that's people that you have to see from day to day in your local neighborhood. Sorry, that's kind of my hot take on that particular note. All right, next question from Rizelle Jam. I love Rizelle. She's a great friend of the show. I like seeing repeat questions from people I see in the chat. I've become quite fond of a lot of y'all who've been around the show for a while. It flatters me that you guys tune in at all. She said, I thought that Planned Parenthood is supposed to be supported by each state. The federal allotment and grant systems is supposed to go to certain non-governmental organizations and medical projects that states can then cut and allot, but the government can decide what states can and can't spend the money on. So for example, let's say, producer Daniel, call him up and I say, hey, we have $500. I want you to spend $500 on, well, I don't know what I would spend $500 on. Get me a really nice Indiana University blazer. Go, make it happen. And then instead he goes and spends the money on, a bunch of Dairy Queen delicious banana split blizzards. No, I'm not going to give him more money to do things. And so that's kind of one of the things going on here. The federal government is being ordered by Talwani, or at least was ordered. There's kind of an older order now. That was just how Bonchi had framed this same judge's stupidity. Says that, well, yeah, sure, Congress and the federal government can say no longer are you supposed to assign grants to these particular organizations, especially, again, given that according to federal law, you're not supposed to be funding abortions. Planned Parenthood says, oh, but we do a lot of other things. And if you go into a Planned Parenthood and just ask for like a breast exam, if they treat you at all, and we have video of this, testimonies of this, I guess former anatomy and physiology teacher, OB studies was something I was very focused on in undergrad. Mainly, that's another story for another time, but that's like what I wanted to study in undergrad. I was really impressed by the Cliff Huxtable. This is before we knew about the Cosby thing, but like Cliff Huxtable is the character. Again, another story for another time. I was supposed to be aborted. People convinced my mom not to. And so, again, that's another story for another time. But at Planned Parenthood, if you go in and you're like, I would like one breast exam, please, they'll treat you like cattle. And so a lot of people in the federal government, from Congress to the president, said, I don't believe you. I don't think that you're just using these funds just for mammograms and pap smears. How about no? And then federal judges ruled you can't do that. So that's still gonna play out. From Rich Brady, 1978. Question: what do you think is going to happen with Iran? So I think that sooner or later the United States is going to strike Iran, because this would be a major, major failure for the Trump administration if they don't. They have to strike Iran, but now they know the strike is coming. The diplomacy angle, where the United States essentially floats diplomacy ad nauseum. Iran, again, slaughtering its people still, not doing anything on the nuclear reduction anyway, which they were never going to anyway. The Iranian nonsense. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, Iran is going to have to be struck. Yeah. Khomeini, the Ayatollah. No, an American enemy doesn't deserve. I think just throw a missile. Send a nice missile into his house. Figure out how to do it, the timing. I don't know when. From the peculiar, I should maybe be careful saying on stream, but sources that I have that have kept me abreast, there are still some preparations. Now it's going to be probably a waiting game as to when the best time is to strike. And honestly, I think that the reason they haven't yet is that the president has not yet been satisfied as to when he plans to do so. By the way, the reason that they ended up doing the strike on Venezuela, as you recall, is that there was a sudden clear weather window. Like a clear weather, just like out of nowhere. They called him in. They did they made the situation room down at Mar-a-Lago. The photos weren't in the actual situation room. Hey, Mr. President, weather's clear. Let's do it. Probably going to be some kind of a call. Mr. President, Mr. President, I'm Vice President J.D. Vance, and I just want to tell you that I think that probably this is the best time to strike. Trump says, all right, J.D., do it. Hit the button. And then, we'll have a fun story, and I'll be going live at 2 in the morning or 9 in the morning or whenever that is. Next question from Morningstar, 1105. Did the schools get the parent releases to take kids off of school property during school hours? Fun fact here, from an old education policy wonk. It just so happens that different states don't necessarily have requirements, and even different public schools don't necessarily have requirements that they have to seek immediate or opt in parental permission to take kids off of school property. A lot of those legal clauses are put up front, and you agree for the school to make those particular decisions while your kid is there. So like the old permission slip standard that was required in the 70s through the early aughts is not necessarily a thing anymore. A lot of schools, recognizing a lot of the legal barriers and challenges, have found ways around that. But your answer is very likely no. The ones that even were required to do so, did not do so. So that aside, I want to move on here to the next question, which is from... Oh, no, it's Rich Brady again. Wait, we got Rich Brady's Iran question twice. I think in that case, then, that's not too bad. I'd say we can wrap it up for a very, very fine week. Appreciate all of you who have tuned in. Again, if you really want to help out the show, over on Apple Podcasts, the Tony Kinnett Cast over there, if you leave us a 5-star rating, if you're just feeling extra generous this beautiful Friday evening, you might leave us a 5-star review. If you hate the show, you stay away from those reviews. We'll see you Monday. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated, first on 93 WIBC. Take care.